he told me that, Erin, I feel like I'm paying Lexus prices, but I'm getting a Toyota. He has a little Southern accent, and I was just like, whoa. He said he's not racist. He's just uncomfortable around Black people. Hey everyone, welcome to the Coffee No Cream podcast. My name is Erin Braxton. I am the host of this brand new podcast. I'm also the CEO and founder of the Rebel Geek LLC. Coffee No Cream podcast is a podcast unapologetically dedicated to Black women. Now, nobody understands what it feels like to walk in the shoes of a Black woman like a Black woman does. And this podcast is dedicated to Black women who are on their journeys in business, whether they're entrepreneurs or they're climbing the corporate ladder. Coffee No Cream is for them. Because as Black women, we go through some very, very unique experiences on our entrepreneurial journeys. Now, every week, we are going to talk to some beautiful, amazing Black women and share what I like to call Coffee No Cream moments. Coffee No Cream moments are unique Black girl experiences that result directly from being a Black girl. So while the original intent may be to harm or pause or deter us from reaching our goals, these Coffee No Cream moments are often the precipice for us to pivot and take big action steps in our career. Now, this is the first episode of Coffee No Cream, so I am the guest, and I want to share with you one of my own Coffee No Cream moments. And hopefully you'll be able to learn from it, get something from it, and it's just part of my story. So let me get going. In 2013, around 2012, 2013, I started a new digital agency called the Rebel Geek, which is still my main work. This is my business. And prior to that, I worked in advertising on big brands, blah, blah, blah. Later, after that, I had a clothing line, lots of Coffee No Cream moments in both of those professions. And now, I have the Rebel Geek. We do web design, digital presence, marketing, branding, all of that. So I worked with a client for many, many years, literally saved them from ruin during COVID. And this experience that I'm going to tell you about is something that happened prior to COVID, but I had been dealing with these people for many years. And let me just say, I believe them to be biased. That's as much as I'll say. Very blessed that I had them as a client, made lots of money off of these people over the years. But we were in a situation where I had been working under retainer. We had one retainer that we were working under. My retainers with them started very small. It started off with project work. And then as we got more and more comfortable and began to work more and more together, then we began working under retainer agreements. So the first one was pretty small. I went in and I increased the retainer because my retainers give you a savings. It saves you from being shocked, paying hourly, being surprised every month with, these surprise invoices. So this was a woman who started her own company, and her husband worked sort of in the background, peripherally, not really engaged, didn't really enjoy the business, didn't love her taking time away from him. He was retired from the post office. No shade to post office workers. It's a fine profession. However, he had no understanding of what it was. I did. And he had said certain things and comments along the way to me, even though we brought them into the 21st century from schlepping around books and DVDs to membership website, e-courses, live courses online. We brought them up. We did amazing work for them, things that they wouldn't be able to afford if they were to hire a big agency, things he quite frankly did not understand, admittedly so. So the retainer that we were under was completely out of whack. Every month I was coming to them with lots of overages, thousands of dollars of overages. So as a result of that, I wanted to rework that retainer because it was costing them a lot of money. There were surprises. And my plan was to give them a retainer agreement that just got rid of any overages. So it covered me. It capped their hours, which I would not go over, but I don't want to even get into the nuances of it. Bottom line, it would have saved them money. Now, he was, again, not very involved in the business. She was like the brainchild doing all the things. He would just come in and grumble and gripe when it came to paying the actual invoice. So I sent them a new retainer, and I could see on my software, he looked at it one time, never looked at it again. I asked him about it. He said he didn't understand, and he told me that I was demanding this money from him. Now, mind you, what I was asking for was less than what I was getting, as in an effort to try to help them save, right? And before this, like I said, he had said things like maybe your developers suck. And, he would just say little things that you knew he wouldn't say to a white boy. Let's just say that. White boys throw out prices just out of their ass sometimes, and people take them because they assume they're the experts, they're knowledgeable, even over just say white women, okay? But black girl, he didn't like the fact probably that I was requesting this kind of money, but we were doing great quality work, very, very important in their business at the time. So I asked him, I said, well, you haven't even read, the contract. I see you didn't even really look at it. And he told me that, Erin, I feel like I'm paying Lexus prices, but I'm getting a Toyota. He has a little Southern accent, and I was just like, whoa, really? Right? So, we know what that was. Okay, that's the moment, that's the comment that was made. And, I knew where it was coming from because of all the shady, sideways stuff he had said to me before. But what just made it so completely unbelievable was the fact that this dude had no knowledge of what I did. He had no understanding. He didn't care. He didn't want to know. Had said that many, many times. So in that moment, I was like, wow, did you really just say that shit to me? But you did. So I didn't back down from that. I didn't shrink back, which is what he wanted me to do. Even though I'm trying to save you money, he wanted me to shrink back. So I just immediately asked him, I said, why would you say that? What makes you think that? He said, I don't know. I don't know why I would say that. I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm not letting him out of it. No, let's talk about it. I want to talk about it. And he goes on to say some other stuff. Like, he wasn't making any point. He admitted that in that moment that he was not informed. He could inform himself better, but he never would address it. He just threw that shit out there and said that sideways stuff to me, basically discounting what I had done for them, discounting what I do for them, saying my prices were like inflated, calling me aggressive in his own right because he's saying I'm demanding this. And all I did was set forth a new agreement to this man so I could get dedicated money to me, not stressing myself out, pushing forward these overages every month, trying to help them out as a small business. So he admitted that he could do more research. He never took the time to understand what it was I did, all of the things, but he never, ever signed the agreement. So they never signed the agreement, right? Which would have behooved them because then COVID happened. And the overages just became incredible, like thousands of dollars more than what we would have been doing had he just signed the agreement, right? Now, I went on to work for those people probably another 4-5 years or so, at least another 5 years, because this was pre-COVID. So this was 2019, at least, if I'm recalling. and it's 2025 now. Let me just back up. So in that moment, obviously I was pissed. Obviously, I wanted to call this man out. But, he was backpedaling before he could even really get it out of his mouth. Like, he would throw shit out there and then he would snatch it back, because he was always afraid to confront me. Like, he tried a few times to confront me when he felt justified, but he would be talking with a shaky voice. He just didn't know what to do with me, right? And so funny, fast forward to years later when the guy, I think he had some strokes and he was in the hospital under the influence. He just blurted out, I don't know how it came out, but the wife told me, and I don't even know why the hell she told me this. He said he's not racist. He's just uncomfortable around Black people. Why she told me that, I have no idea. Why would she even tell me some mess like that? I already knew. And my response to her when she said that was pretty much like, yeah, I know who he is. I know how he is. But I don't know why she would tell me something like that. And then she went on to explain how embarrassed he would be if he knew he said that under the influence of drugs. And he was in and out of a coma and consciousness or whatever. So anywho, but back to the story. We just never really addressed it again formally until, many years later when they asked me to develop a new retainer. They never would sign that. Now, they would pay me under the retainer agreement, but they never would sign it. So to answer the question how I felt, I was pissed. And then after time went on, I realized the level of disrespect, okay, because they didn't sign the agreement. I should have just gone on billing them overages. That's what I should have done. But I was being cool. We had worked together for so long. I kept going along. I billed them, didn't charge the overages, just billed them what we agreed to. But they did not sign the agreement. And even when we came to another agreement, they would not sign the agreement, mainly because they didn't like this clause I had in there about a 90-day transition. So at the moment, I felt one way, but over a period of time, it just started to snowball, like the level of disrespect, discounting, the way I did business, the way I wanted to do business. But at this point, I was so deep in, and, I just didn't handle it the way that I should have. Now, this is no longer a client of mine. They went on their way, and more power to them. We parted ways several months ago. And the blessings that have unfolded since they are no longer one of my clients have been just phenomenal blessings. What would I do differently? If this happened to me again, it wouldn't happen to me again because I learned some very important things and I learned to like peep the disrespect. And yeah, I knew they weren't good people on many levels. They were fine people on some levels, but they weren't good people in many ways. And I say that hesitantly because they blessed me in many ways in my life, and I worked for them a long time. I was able to do good things, but their intentions were not good where I was concerned. The level of respect that they did not show, and later the wife admitted the way they handled that contract was incorrect. They shouldn't have done that. She admitted that, but she just was always controlled by him. She didn't make a move without him, even though he wasn't really involved in anything. And what I would have done differently is, for one, I would have continued to bill them as usual until they signed the agreement. I would not have let them keep working with me without the agreement because, they needed me probably more than I needed that money. And also, I would have made an effort, a bigger effort to replace them with different clients. And that is something I didn't do. We were very, very comfortable working with each other. We had worked with each other for so long. I just was comfortable. They were comfortable. And we just kind of kept going and that sort of thing. And So yeah, to me, that was a coffee no cream moment because I know he wouldn't have said certain things to me had I not been a female one and had I not been Black. So I don't know in which order you want to turn those around, but definitely stemming off of what um, has happened with him in the past and things that I've learned that he said later. I definitely think that man had a problem with me. So, what did I learn from this situation? One of the biggest takeaways for me was I want to work with people who want to work with me. I want to work with people who respect what it is I do, who value what it is I do. And it doesn't need to be like this constant struggle, right? So also, a lot of times we're afraid to walk away from money. We're afraid because, it's easier to work with the devil that you do know. And oh my gosh, what if I'm not going to replace this money or I'm not going to find somebody who will pay me this and all of the things. We're afraid, right? There's a fear. There's a fear in everything we do. But I can tell you one thing, you're not going to open yourself up to what God, universe has for you if you're still stuck back there. And I can't speak to that more strongly than when I parted ways with these people, okay? Because the blessings afforded to me since not having to deal with them, the release of the stress of dealing with the chaos and the toxicity of working with toxic people, I can't even describe. It's kind of like when other money comes, good money, great projects, you're almost like you feel guilty because it seems like the money is too easy. You've been working your ass off for people who are bitching and complaining about having to pay you every time it's time to pay and who don't respect what it is that you do. So I know I don't want to work with those types of people anymore. I want to work with people who want to work with me. I want to work with people who respect what it is I do, who respect the value in what I do, people who are excited to work with me. And that is what I could have gotten a hold of a long time ago had I not had the fear of walking away from these people. There was nothing I could get. It's kind of like when you're dating a guy or you're keeping a guy around and you're just doing it because you don't have anything better to do. But it's like, how is the other guy going to find you? How are you going to be open for somebody else if you're still holding on to this, dusty guy over there? That it's the same exact thing. So I think that was my biggest takeaway. It's like I am now more open to bigger and more amazing opportunities that have come my way after not having to deal with people like this anymore. So that was one of my coffee no cream moments. So yeah, ladies, stand up for yourself. I mean, I'm not going to say don't give in, don't let people bait you, don't let people get you to come undone with the ignorance that comes out of their mouth. I've definitely learned that. And if something doesn't feel right, or if you feel like somebody isn't respecting you, they are not the only clients in the world. There are plenty of people ready to pay you for the quality work that you provide. I think as a woman in business, I had parents that one of my parents was in business. He had an auto body shop in the hood, my dad, and my mom was a school teacher. So I feel like a lot of us Black girls, Black people in general, are not equipped with the business know-how that our white counterparts are when they get into the game. And so one of the purposes of this podcast is to help women navigate through and learn how to handle ourselves in these situations because they're not going away. So how do we handle that? How do we navigate through that? We don't want to complain about it, but our goal is to talk about it so we can learn how to navigate these situations and uplift other women by telling our stories. We don't want to play into the typical stereotypes. That's definitely not what we want to do. And we don't want to just rag on white people all day. This is something that's always going to happen, especially now, especially under this administration that we are under here in the US. It's emboldening people to do and say crazy things. But how do we navigate when these things happen? What do we do that works in the best interest of ourselves? How do we figure out how to move forward positively without it affecting our self-esteem and our self-worth? Because those are real, true consequences of dealing with the things that we deal with day in and day out. And that's certainly not where we want to be. So I invite you to join us every week where we will talk to a different Black woman in business who is going to share her story and how she was able to navigate through and what she learned from it and her takeaways and, even what she would do differently if given the chance. We don't always respond in the best way. My goal with this podcast is to help you to deal with these situations, to help Black women have a place to go to, just let it out and not be embarrassed about talking about the things that we go through when it comes to our business dealings every day. Hell, before I sat down to record this episode, I was actually talking to a male friend of mine, which in my opinion has had a very different experience in this world based on what he does. But he proceeded to minimize this particular experience to me. And even our Black men don't always get it, okay? And I don't want to not include them because I want this to be a place where we gang up on Black men. That's not it at all. But we just need our own spaces, and this is a space for women. That's it. That's all. There's nothing more to it. They have unique spaces for them. They have unique experiences as Black men. And as Black women, we have ours. So I hope you join me every week where we're going to meet different amazing Black women in business, learn how they dealt with the cards they were dealt, how they navigate these situations, how they protect their mind and their self-worth and their peace and their bag while dealing with these situations. So I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.